Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our panel of speakers on stage. Banu, tech YouTuber at Androdollar. Suresh, organizer at GDG Sri Lanka. And Thiru, head of AI at Root Code.
Hello everyone, welcome to Google I/O Recap live from Google I/O Extended Sri Lanka 2024. It is an absolutely amazing experience to address such a wonderful crowd from here on the stage because 1,000-strong crowd is indeed an amazing turnout. So today we are going to unpack the latest advancements, the future of technology that was unveiled at the heart of Google's biggest event, the Google I/O keynote. My name is Thiru Dinesh, your moderator, and I'll be here to navigate you all through this exciting panel discussion alongside these three incredible panelists who are joining on the stage with me. So to give you all introductions again, first off, we have Mr. Banu Athuralia, who is a smartphone aficionado and a very popular tech YouTuber here in Sri Lanka. And Banu will be covering the topics that will undoubtedly revolutionize your mobile phone experience. Next up, we have an expert in AI, a man who sees the future through his lines of code. He is the head of AI at Root Code, Mr. Thiru Dinesh, and Thiru will be covering the groundbreaking advancements of AI. And finally, we have a familiar face, a GDG organizer here in Sri Lanka, and he is an expert developer who is passionate about empowering creators here in Sri Lanka with the knowledge of cutting-edge dev tools. Suresh will be diving deep into the treasure trove of dev tools unveiled at the Google I/O keynote. So these three speakers will be covering a multitude of interesting topics throughout this panel discussion. Therefore, without a further delay, let's jump right into it. So to start things off, my first question is directed to Banu. So Banu, it is very apparent and evident that AI took front stage when it comes to the last Google I/O. So what are the announcements that stood out to you the most during this?
Thank you, Trivita, and good afternoon to all of you guys. So this year at Google I/O, I think for all of you guys who watched, it was very apparent that Google AI is taking center stage with Gemini and all their announcements. And also, they are trying to use AI in a very meaningful way across the products that we use on a day-to-day basis, right? For all of the, core experiences of Android, Google Photos, Google Docs, and throughout Workspace, and a lot of places. So let's dive on into these things right now. So one of the first things that I want to talk about is Google Photos, how it's going to really reinvent, like I know a lot of people who use Google Photos as one of their main places to store all of their pictures. I personally, regardless of the type of device that I use, whether it's an iPhone or an Android device or whatever it is, all my photos end up on Google Photos because of how easy it is to manage all of that. So with Google Photos, this time they announced the ability to search particular things, like, search the particular content that you want. Like for an example, the example that they gave is searching the license plate, right? Just imagine having the convenience of finding the license plate of your vehicle very easily using Google Photos. So it's going to go through all your pictures and just pinpoint you to the right number. And also another thing that is very personal to me that was announced this year is how Google AI will be able to, with the power of Gemini and everything, they are going to use Google Photos to, not only suggest different pictures, but stages of different pictures. So like the example that they used is how they showed off a baby who was learning to swim, and they showcased how that particular baby was able to, like the pictures were able to identify the different stages of that learning process. And that was really fun to see, because even with my baby, I'm going through that same process right now. So this feature was really an eye-opener, and it's going to be really awesome to use. And the other thing is Google announced the Gemini 1.5 Pro and 1.5 Flash. So I think this will be spoken in detail in upcoming sessions as well. And they highlighted the importance of multimodality along with long context working together. Right, so basically think of it like, you know, in day-to-day instances where you'll be using email for work, you know, getting summarized emails, like it's going to get even better and better. And also whether you are using spreadsheets or whether you're using, you know, let's say Google Meet for an example, right? If you're using Google Meet, you will be able to use that to, you know, generate a summary for videos that are up to 1 hour long. So that's going to be really useful to have, because that's going to really, you know, make it easy for you to, like, even if you miss a meeting or something like that, it's going to be very easy for you to quickly grasp that out of that. And also AI organized search result pages are also going to be coming in, and that's going to really reinvent how we use the Google search engine as we know it, right? Like we use Google as one of the primary search engines, right? Like a lot of you guys, every time you think about something, you have a question, Google is one of the first places that you go to, right? So Google is trying to use this, with the AI, they are trying to make AI helpful for everyone and make this more accessible to people so that they can do something, you know, awesome with this. And also, they spoke about something really interesting with, you know, Google, with the power of searching on Google. They said on stage, you know, Google will be doing all the Googling for you, right? So basically, Google will also run whatever search queries that you have. They are also going to be running that through their models to optimize and give you the best results for whatever you want. So that's going to be really awesome, and they are going to break it down with multi-step reasoning. That is what they announced. That's going to really help you break down your search results, and it's going to be really useful for you. So those were some of the key areas, and then I want to talk about a project from Google's DeepMind that caught my attention. I think this was, if you asked me, one of the core things that I can highlight from this entire presentation, I think it is this. With Google DeepMind, they announced something called Project Astra, right? So basically think of it like a universal AI agent that will help you in day-to-day life, right? And they actually showed off an incredible demo on stage. So I'll just play that for you guys and run you guys through this, the demo that they had. Basically, using this, they were able to, like, now this is how, this is Project Astra running in real life. So you'll see that them pointing it at a particular speaker and asking, show me something that makes some sound, right? And the device is able to not only identify that the speaker is the one that's putting out the sound, but also it knows the parts that are in that particular speaker. When you point it at you know, these color pencils, it's able to, you know, identify, right, the perfect, it's able to give the perfect answer for that question. And for all the developers who are out there, I know there are a lot of developers who are here, you can point this at your code, and, you know, whenever you're stuck with something, maybe there's a bug, you're trying to fix it, when you're trying to pinpoint that error, you can use Project Astra to identify what's wrong. And not only will it tell you the particular solution for that code snippet, it will also you know, give you a reason behind that as well, and even to identify the particular neighborhood you're in and all of that can be done using this, and that's going to be really useful. And the other thing that caught my attention in this demo is them actually teasing us, bringing back Google Glass, because here, if you see very carefully, they showcase this smart glass concept. So this is they didn't really announce a product out of it, but they really teased this particular smart glass working. So this could be the next step. Maybe this is their vision. So maybe next year's Google I/O will see Google Glass coming back, or some other product that might come out to compete with the existing products that are already there. So if you use that, especially for people like me who use glasses, having a smart glass option would always definitely be one of the key things. So that's going to be an awesome thing.
So definitely, Banu. You are a famous content creator here in Sri Lanka. So my next question is, as a tech content creator in Sri Lanka, how is generative AI is helpful to create content? How does it help people like you in creative areas?
Yeah, so this year at Google I/O, they actually announced 3 tools that will definitely help out a lot of content creators. I'm sure there are a lot of content creators here as well. So they announced Imagen 3, then Music AI Sandbox, as well as VO, that is the video generation platform. So just imagine how, right now, when we want a particular footage, we have to, make sure that we go and get that particular shot. Like, for an example, if you want, let's say, the sunset along with some birds flying or something like that, you can prompt that in to this, and you can get that generated in full HD using VO, the new platform that they announced, as well as they are having the video effects studio for people to go ahead and try this. So it's going to be useful for people to generate different videos, as well as you can basically use your imagination and generate different things. So depending on the content that you want, you can actually use this to generate this footage that will fulfill that project that you're working on. So this is definitely going to be something awesome. So all of you guys can go to labs.google.com. There's a long waiting list though, but you can register for it right now and see if you can try this. And even with Music AI Sandbox, if you want that perfect beat for your particular video, you can try it with this and try to generate that. And I think that's going to be definitely useful for a lot of content creators.
Thank you, Banu. So, as Banu said, it is very apparent and very evident that all these AI modules are coming to us. They are coming into our phones, and we've witnessed over the years that they are getting smarter and smarter. And now we are at a phase where these models can understand images and even videos. So my next question is to Thiru. So Thiru, what is the main source for this progress?
Is it working? Yes. Okay. I'm the proud owner of the first mic issue of the day. Thank you, Trividya, for that wonderful introduction, by the way. It's probably the best one I've got. But yes, I think one of the most common patterns we see in large models that are being developed across the board, inside Google and outside, is that it's increasingly becoming multimodal, right? And that's reflecting in the products Banu just spoke about as well. So from Google Photos to all the other app integrations, even into Google Workspaces, we are seeing AI agents moving from, or AI conversational LLMs moving from just text chatbots to being sort of omnipresent within the entire interface, right? And okay. I had the first clicker issue as well. I don't know what else I'm going to complete. But yeah, jokes apart, I think, yeah, so this, I think Google released the first fully multimodal model. Then I think the rest of the organizations followed up. But I think this is the most promising way towards even the larger goal of general intelligence, right? Because text can only get us so far. Of course, a lot of information is contained within text, and that's very useful. But to develop models that are truly intelligent and that can probably someday get to as intelligent as we are, we need models which can understand on a deeper level the information of the world, right? And like for example, a human baby takes like 5 years to learn reasonably good volume of information, right? Even concepts like gravity and fall, and if you push a kid, they'll know how to stand back up. Don't do that, but just an example. But yeah, so I think when we go more and more forward, we will see a lot more models being multimodal, and the benefit of us as consumers, not only as researchers or people working in AI, is that we will have AI agents on our devices, and there'll be points where we don't even know the agent is acting upon the information that we are receiving. And that's going to make products, the next generation of products, really, really intuitive to use. Yeah.
So Thiru, another important part of the Gemini release was the 1 million context window. So my next question is, why is a large context window important?
Yeah, I think the primary problem here is now before this whole LLM era we had, whenever a state-of-the-art model is usually released, if we take up when BERT was released, BERT was one of the initial models, we used to download the model and we'll fine-tune it, right? We'll retrain the model and we'll fine-tune the model, and that was possible. Like you can have a reasonable computer with a GPU and train a good version of BERT. But currently with models like Gemini or even open source ones like Gemma, it's not possible at all because these models are so huge. We're dealing with potentially billions of parameters here. And that means we can't fit these into, let alone a conventional computer, even some of the best servers we have, right? So, and it's hard to build the infrastructure that an organization like Google has as well. Not only the hardware infrastructure, but also the software and engineering infrastructure needed to train such models. And that's where the context window, I think, is going to revolutionize a lot of things, because now you can pass into LLMs the entire context of your code base and ask questions about it, right? Let's say you're working on an open source project, or if you want to contribute to an open source project, you can literally clone the repo, upload it to Gemini, and ask questions about it. So it's like you have the lead developer with you by your side 24/7. And that is going to bring about a lot of changes. And this context window increase is not only for text, but also for video, audio, and images, right? And that means that you should be able to upload documents with interactive media, ask questions, upload entire video, ask the model to analyze it. Or maybe, let's say, you have a video of you playing football, and you want to improve yourself. You upload a video and you ask feedback, right? So things which we thought weren't possible, which we thought were the limitations of LLMs 1 year back, are completely shattered now. And that's what's most interesting about this context window. So we will be training lesser and lesser models, and we'll be passing the entire context, in our case a code base, or in if a research paper or a document, completely to the model to get answers instead of having to fine tune it. Yeah.
So what's ahead for LLMs? Because at this point, it is very apparent that models like Gemini are too advanced just to be used as chatbots, right?
Okay, all right. Absolutely, I think we are at a point, I think we would be underutilizing these models if we are just using them as chatbots. Just using them as an alternative search mechanism, right? Of course, search is really useful. But where I see a lot of interesting work coming out, and where we work I work at Root Code, where we, on an area we work to develop agents or develop agentic systems that can control and understand energy grid systems. And one research area we've been currently working on is how we can integrate, generative models like Gemini into the whole planning and reasoning steps of it. So we can. So the idea would be, the most interesting idea to me is at least, how can we use this really dense, really useful knowledge these models have about the world, about the internet, to solve actual problems. And I think that comes from the whole idea of agentic developments in AI and using large language models as agents.
Thank you, Thiru. So my next question is directed to Suresh. So Suresh, we've discussed different use cases for AI and Gemini model. Could you please elaborate on how these language models are impacting and enhancing the experience of dev tools?
Definitely. So before I answer your question, I just had to say one thing for the audience. Wow, what energetic audience, right? So I see the power of an ecosystem, and I really appreciate for coming in here. So anyway, to address your question, I just had to mention about few developer tools that were announced at this year's Google I/O. Okay, I think I got the second clicker issue. Right. So before I start off with the topic, I just want to ask one question. Can I see how many of you are VS Code users? Can I see a raise of hands? Right. So I think 100% or 99% of the developers are using VS Code, right? So have you guys ever heard about something called Project IDX, right? So Project IDX is something like a cloud version of VS Code, right? So I know when developers are working on applications, right, you all might have a lot of constraints in terms of the memory space, in terms of the CPUs, in terms of setting up your environments. But Google has announced this cool tool called Project IDX that you can work as a cloud-based tool, and you can create any kind of application, maybe Flutter applications, maybe Gemini applications, Angular, Next.js, any kind of applications are possible with Project IDX. So, Project IDX comes with intelligence provided by Gemini 1.5 Pro, and you even get code suggestions and auto completions as well. So it's really an improved version of VS Code, more like a cloud version of VS Code. So it's not just an IDE, right? It comes with their own emulator. So for an example, let's say if you're building a Flutter application, right? Sometimes you'll have to set up your own emulators and your own dev environment, right? So along with Project IDX, it's very easy to set up your own emulators and the developer environment. And not just the development, it handles the deployment part as well. So for an example, if you guys want to deploy application on cloud environments, maybe on Cloud Run or App Engine or any kind of other services, you can easily use the deployment tools provided by Project IDX to deploy it anywhere that you want, right? So that's how cool it is. So as my next point, I want to talk about Google Workspace. I think Banu also mentioned some topics on the Google Workspace, or what are coming to Google Workspace. So now the Google Workspace is powered by Gemini 1.5 Pro, right? So if you go for the paid version of Google Workspace, if you go for the premium version of Google Workspace, you will get access to the 1.5 Pro Gemini version. And in terms of generated AI stuff, you can still automate a lot of stuff as well. So right. So along with Google Workspace, you get something called side panel, right? So I believe that all of you are aware about the side panel that you get in the Gmail, right? So if you click on the right sidebar, if you click on calendar or Gmail or something like that, you get the side panel. So the side panel is powered by AI now, right? So you can ask Google Workspace to find emails, maybe to summarize emails, maybe to find important and interesting factors on your emails, right? So all of these things are supported with the new Gemini 1.5 integration with Workspace. As well as it has the understanding of the contextual of your emails. For an example, let's say if you're dealing with thousands of emails, right? It has to have the contextual understanding where you can generate the replies. So that is fully automated, and that part is fully handled through the Gemini integration. So moving forward, not just the Gemini integration is there along with the Workspace. It supports third-party integrations. It supports third-party integrations. For an example, let's say if you're integrating your Google Workspace with some other third-party, or maybe HubSpot, Salesforce, or something like that. So along with the API they have provided, they have the code support for multiple platforms. So this is something else, so I'll go back to this. So in Workspace, like I said, it supports all of these platforms like HubSpot and HubSpot, Salesforce, and multiple stuff as well. So moving forward, I want to talk about few other stuff as well. Along with Gemini, there are a lot of improvements in terms of improving the developer experience. So there's a tool called Google Code Assist, right? There's a tool called Google Code Assist. So what it does is, right? So before that, can I see a raise of hands, those who are using GitHub Copilot? Right. Okay, so I know that a lot of people are using that as a code assistant. So Google has this really interesting tool called Google Code Assist that allows you to auto-complete your code, right? So it's not just the auto-completion of your code, right? So even the GitHub Copilot does the same thing. But the specialty of Code Assist is that it has a full contextual understanding of your code, right? So if you compare with GitHub Copilot, what it does is it analyzes file and gives you recommendations. But with Code Assist, it has the understanding of your database connections, CRUD operations, controllers, and models, and any kind of third-party integrations as well. Like I said, it's a fully on development tool that you can use for your day-to-day development tasks. So to mention special something about it, right? The integrations with your favorite IDs is there. You can use PyCharm, Golang, WebStorm, even VS Code, right? So a lot of integrations are there along with the Gemini, the Code Assist tool, and it's powered by Gemini as well. So as you can see in the screen, these are the technology partners, and these are the different types of frameworks that it's partnered with. And it has the contextual understanding of all of these frameworks. And right now, a lot of companies are already using Code Assist, as you can see in the screen. So, you know, it can really improve the experience of user. Also, I had to mention something. So, you know, a lot of people are afraid to use these automatic generation tools. The reason is the privacy and the security, right? Because a lot of companies, a lot of corporates doesn't want their data to go outside, right? Especially when it comes to large language models, they don't want to expose their code to outside large language models. But with Code Assist, they have guaranteed that they are protecting your data and the privacy aspects are applied. So because of that, we don't have to worry about the code privacy, and none of your codes are going to be exposed, and none of your codes are going to be used as retraining model for the large language models. So that assurance has been given by the Code Assist service. Right, and something interesting. So I believe all of you are using Google Chrome, right? So I know in Google Chrome, they have a really interesting tool called, it's an integration along with Gemini, right? So in Gemini, there are three models, there are multiple models. There's something called Gemini Nano, right? Especially to talk about Gemini Nano, it's capable of working offline. So even when you're not connected, it has a capability of running in your local machine, and it can give you recommendation. So for an example, let's say you're composing an email, or you are filling a random form, right? So in that case, all what you have to do is, you can just right-click on your browser, and it does auto-completion. You can give the context, and the completion-wise, it's automatically being handled. So that is the beauty of code, the Gemini integration with Google Chrome, right? So not just that, it can summarize your web pages, it can generate new content, it can generate social media posts, right? So all of these things are supported, especially to mention that offline support is there, right? You don't have to be connected all the time to use the Gemini Nano integration with Chrome. And one thing to mention that, can I know how many of you are using the dev tool, right-click inspect element? Right. So I know that all of you are using the dev tools, right? So for an example, if you get some error in your application, right? So I'll quickly show you a demonstration. So if you have a look at the screen, you can see that this person is using the Chrome dev tools to debug an error with the application, right? It has the contextual understanding, and now even the Gemini integration with Chrome supports identifying these console errors as well as these dev tool errors as well. You can ask the Gemini model to explain this code for you. You can ask the Gemini model to explain this error for you, right? That's the beauty of it. So with that being said, I want to move back to Banu again. Yeah, you can carry.
Yeah, I'll take control now. So Banu, I have a question to you when we are circling back to you. So you are an industry expert with smartphones. So what are the announcements that caught your eye that will impact the smartphone, future of smartphones and future of Android?
Yeah, so once again, AI is at the core of Android now. So that's the whole the important point here, that they are using AI across the board, like I said at the start, right? So now having AI on Android means now it's context aware about the environment. And also with the device that you're using, right, they are going to be using Gemini Nano on your device, and it's going to make your process of using the device much better, right? It's able to understand, like basically you'll get like just like you are getting the search assistant right now, you'll be able to get the Gemini assistant on top of whatever you are doing, and you can quickly, if, let's say you're doing you're searching something or something like that, and the particular the information that you want could be drawn on top of that. Like say, even if you're watching a YouTube video, if you want more information, you can get on top of that by searching that, right? So that kind of little things, it will be helpful for your day-to-day activities. That's the most important thing. And another cool thing that they announced is the private number, the scam detection, right? So if you're having a conversation, I think this will be, I'm not sure if this particular feature will work in Sri Lanka at the start, but they announced that it's coming later to, this year to the US, so we'll have to wait and see. So basically what happens is, let's say you get a call. Right now, a lot of people get caught to scams in this method because they are not sure about financial. Certain people word it out in a very particular way to ensure that it doesn't sound like a scam. But with Gemini now, you will be able to identify. The phone will listen to your conversations basically, and just pinpoint if if it feels like it's a particular scam, it will highlight that, and that's going to save the financials of a lot of people as well as lives of a lot of people, because we've seen the damage it can do to society. So that's going to be something really important. And the other important thing is circle to search. That is a feature that was announced by Samsung earlier this year on their product launches, but now circle to search is going to come to all of your Android phones as well. So if you have the latest version, starting from later this year, a lot of people will get access to circle to search, and that's going to be a really awesome thing, because with circle to search, basically you'll be able to identify whatever you want. Like let's say you see a pair of shoes, you can identify that. If you want to get some text translated, you can get that done using the circle to search feature. That's going to be a really cool thing to have. And not only that, for all the students that are here, right, to solve whatever equation that you have or something like that, you can not only get the particular answer. The important thing here is that you are getting step-by-step instructions on what went on behind the scenes. That's going to be the important thing, and that's going to come out later this year, so stay tuned for that. It's going to come out to all millions of devices, and that's going to be really awesome. And my favorite part of every Google I/O is when they announce the latest version of Android and the new improvements that are coming to it. So this time with Android 15, we actually got a glimpse of it before I/O itself. But since I/O, they have pushed out two betas. At I/O, they announced beta 2, but after that, they announced beta 3, and beta 4 just came out like 2 days ago. Mostly stability updates, but there are a couple of key features that are there on Android 15 that make it really interesting. I know it's not a a groundbreaking update this time around, but it makes some meaningful changes to the overall Android experience. So I want to highlight features like the private space. So this is a feature that we had again on Samsung devices in the past, but now it's coming to all of your Android devices as well. So basically, it's an entirely private space with its own lock screen and everything else. So you can have whatever particular apps if you want on that. Even a second instance of it, you can have it on there. And other minor UI improvements to like things like widgets that you see every day. how like when you think about it, right? You glance at your home screen quite a lot of times every day. So that home screen widget is the thing that you see a lot. So these improvements are going to make this experience really better. And also support for foldable devices, it's expanding a lot, because now foldable devices are everywhere. It's coming up, it's been announced not only by Samsung, a lot of other brands are pushing it. Even to Sri Lanka, we are having a lot of brands bringing in foldable devices now. So it's nice to see, and Google has its own foldable device. So they are also pushing the improvements to the foldable devices with this. And also Wear OS is also getting an update, and there are some tweaks happening there. So if you're Android smartwatch user, you're definitely going to be interested to find the final release coming later this year. And I have a question to the audience. Can I see a show of hands? How many of you are waiting for the next generation Pixel? Anyone here waiting for the Pixel 9? All right, I can see a couple of hands going up. That's awesome, because Google just announced a couple of days back that they are holding a very special event on August 13th to announce not only the Pixel 9 but a bunch of other products as well. So we are getting the Pixel 9, Pixel 9 Pro, Pixel 9 Pro XL, as well as the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. So we are getting an updated foldable device as well. So this is the video that they put out to make that announcement. I know this was not a Google I/O announcement, but I really wanted to show this off to you guys, for all those people who are waiting to get their hands on the next generation Pixel, because it's going to be a really awesome device from what I've seen, and can't wait to try that out.
Thank you, Banu. So with that, I'd like to shift the focus back to LLMs. And my next question is directed at Thiru. So Thiru, how do you think the open source side of this LLM progression will look?
Yeah, I think as the technology develop, I think what we spoke about early on were all proprietary models, right? So you have an API-only interface where you send in text or image or any modality and you get an output. And you have this black box where you send it. It is useful in a lot of contexts, but I think even Google realizes the importance of open source models, especially with the open source model series. And I want to cover Polygemma, which is a multimodal vision to language model. And these models, these open source models, will give developers a lot of flexibility to play around with multimodal architectures, to fine tune them for very specific use cases. When we do a lot of fine tuning for like very specific healthcare use cases and so on. And also to understand what's behind the box and what's happening here, right? And I think open source models will lead the charge when it comes to really big research developments, apart from the industry titans, of course. Because I think for the first time now, we have open source access to these really great models. And we have complete access to the weight, the architecture, and the parameters. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how developers leverage it, not only from an API-only interface, but on a more fine-tuned, nuanced level on how they can customize these models for their own use cases.
So a topic that we can't ignore is the AI safety, right? During this last year's Google I/O keynote, a huge part was covered about AI safety. So what do you think happens with this AI and safety? What are the new features? What are the announcements?
I think it has the importance of safety has exponentially increased now. Because at least earlier, 1 or 2 years back, these LLMs, we were using them only as a chatbot application. So you go log into that, you ask information, right? Now, like Banu and Suresh mentioned, there are a lot of apps that are running Gemini in the background. So it's at a point where these models are omnipresent. They are throughout the system, right? They are operating at an operating, operating at the OS level, right? But so safety becomes really important. So I think one of the main announcements this year was AI-assisted red teaming as well, which is an approach taken by Google specifically to use, So AI-assisted red teaming is an approach used by Google to train models that compete against each other to remove toxicity and harmful generation from this model. So this approach is sort of inspired by the AlphaGo and the AlphaGo series of models by DeepMind, and AlphaStar, which were initially trained to compete in games and in board games and video games and so on. And now they are using the same learning strategies to make models compete between each other in terms of reducing toxicity as well. And another interesting announcement after that was SynthID. So with all these generative models now being instantly accessible, how do we know what's real, right? How do we know whether a particular, video should be playing. All right, yes. So how do we know images are real, or the content we come across on the internet are real? And Google has developed a unique watermarking approach across modalities. So earlier it was only for images, and by the way, these watermarks are not visible to the human eye at all. And they released it for videos and text as well. In text it's really hard because, well, text is text. We are observing every individual token. At least in images we are not looking at every individual pixel. So SynthID will be, I think, a big step, and at one point it may even become an industry norm to be mandatory to have digital IDs assigned to, digital watermarks assigned to these generated content. And that will be a leap in deepfake security and security of generated content. Because if not, one of the major troubles of the whole LLM era would be, how do we know what's real? And this seems to be a really promising solution to that.
Thank you, Thiru. So Suresh, my next question is to you. We all know that when it comes to developer tools, we cannot forget Firebase. So could you please elaborate what are the newest developments of Firebase?
Well, so in terms of the Firebase, I think all of you are using Firebase, right? So earlier there was this tool called Firebase Hosting, which was a static web page hosting service. But in Firebase Hosting, you weren't able to host any kind of complex applications, right? For an example, if you're writing a full stack application using a framework such as Next.js or Angular, right? It wasn't possible. But if it's a static web page, of course, you were able to do it, maybe a React application as a static deployment. But they have recently announced this tool called Firebase App Hosting. So in Firebase App Hosting, you can deploy any kind of full stack application, maybe a Next.js application or an Angular application or even a backend written in Node.js, right? So these kind of frameworks are supported, right? So you can see the screen how easy it is to set up the environment and make a deployment on top of Firebase App Hosting. And special thing to mention that in Firebase App Hosting, it has the CI/CD support, right? You can link your own Git repositories and the auto deployment of your code would happen automatically, right? So you can even have the different branching structures. You can even have the dev, prod, and the staging environments throughout the Firebase app hosting environment. So all of these features are supported in terms of Firebase app hosting. And also, it has the integration with Firebase authentication tools, right? So you know that Firebase is having a really good authenticator tool that you can link your any credentials, maybe social media, maybe phone numbers, right? Maybe email authentication, right? So Firebase app hosting has integration towards Firebase authentication as well, so that you can use to easily streamline the process between different application authentication interfaces. And secondly, one of the other features that were released was Firebase Data Connect, right? So in Firebase, earlier, there were two databases, the Firestore and the Firebase real-time database. So this year, they have announced a new database type called Firebase Data Connect, right? It's a Postgres-based database. So you know, in Google Cloud, we have the Google Postgres database, right? So we can easily integrate the Firebase Data Connect with the Postgres service that runs on Google Cloud. And simply, we can integrate between front-end applications, mobile applications, web applications, because they have SDK written for iOS and Android as well. Especially, they have releases for iOS as well, because there are less frameworks for that. And also, I had especially mentioned regarding with regard to Data Connect, it allows you to query from the front end, right? Because if you want to query data from a database, you have to have a backend, right? But Firebase Data Connect has some interesting querying tools that is focused on querying from front end as well. And also it's using GraphQL, right? So using GraphQL, you can easily query data from the Postgres database. And also, it has type safety, right? Because when working with data sources, it's really important to have the type safety feature, right? Because there can be many data types that you are working with, strings, numbers, and many other data types that could easily change. But the type safety feature of the Firebase Data Connect allows you to build robust applications and fault-tolerant applications as well. And special thing to mention, I think Thiru can add some comments on these as well. So there's a feature. So they are integrating the PG Connect, PG Vector, right? So it's a vector store powered by Postgres as well. So if you are looking at any kind of similarity search, any kind of semantic search operations are possible with the integration of PG Vector. So these embedding models are there as well, right? So you can use the Firebase Data Connect as a vector store as well. If you want to retrieve any similar information, it makes that easier. So the next point is that we have a new tool called Firebase GenKit. So nowadays, Gen AI is a trending topic, right? So with the GenKit, they allow you to build generative AI applications and conversational AI applications very easily, right? Because it has the front-end integration as well. So by doing, their whole objective is to reduce the number of code lines. So with the GenKit, you can easily build generative AI applications within a few clicks. So as you can see in the screen, this is a demonstration on how GenKit was integrated on Firebase. And this is a very basic restaurant menu application. So you can see it has a visual interface where you can train your own basic models, as well as you can give the input in JSON and you get the output in JSON as well. So the integration, of course, for front end can be done using the SDKs they have given. That makes much more easier to work with. Right. So one more important introduction of Google was the Google checks. So we know that when you're writing applications, maybe on Flutter, Android, or any kind of applications, we are less considering about the privacy factors, right? In terms of security and privacy, we give the low priority for that. But it's really important to make sure that our application is compliant with the global privacy standards, right? So along with the Firebase along with the Google Checks application, we can easily get a report of wherever the data breaches are and wherever the issues are. So for an example, just to make sure that what kind of data are collected and what are the data compliance levels and what kind of information sources are we exposing to. So any kind of analytics can be easily retrieved from the Google Checks application. We just have to upload the APK or the link, the integration with your Android applications or the mobile applications. So it automates the entire flow of compliance and privacy and security. And finally, I believe that some of you all might have heard about this tool called Dialogflow. It came out a few years ago, but recently, from this year's Google I/O itself, they have given the Gen AI and the Gemini integration support with Dialogflow. And very easily, you can build conversational AI and chatbots and any kind of applications that requires integration. So, and also it has API integrations, cross-platform integrations, and even you can integrate with some of the most popular Google products, such as Google Meet as well, along with the integration provided that they're giving. And also it has the visual flow builder, right? It doesn't require any kind of coding, but it has a coding aspect as well. But if you're a non-coder, it has a visual builder where you can build your own flow of the conversation from the client to the server's end. And finally, it has the omni-channel implementation right? So you can link any kind of source, output sources. So maybe Facebook integration and maybe any kind of social media integrations, you can easily handle along with the Dialogflow and the Gemini integration with Dialogflow to build the conversational AI chatbots and agents.
Okay, thank you, Suresh. That was an amazing cover on the Firebase and AI. So it is very apparent that the technical future is brimming with possibilities, and we are sure to see many more advancements in AI, Android ecosystem, and even in developer tools in the very near future. So with that, we have reached the end of this panel discussion, Google I/O recap. But before we end this session, I'd like to express our sincerest thanks to our incredible panelists, Banu, Thiru, and Suresh. And to show you our gratitude, we have prepared a few tokens of appreciation for you. To present these tokens, I'd like to invite Mr. Damsara Ranasinghe over to the stage. He is a GDG organizer here in Sri Lanka. Thank you, Damsara, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed Google I/O recap.